Little black kid assists millionaire fix his Mustang. When he sees the band on her digit, his life turns upside down. The merciless late afternoon sun made the asphalt of the rural highway steam as Maya Johnson walked home from school. The 10-year-old kid slowed her pace when she saw the shiny red Shelby GT 500 Mustang parked on the shoulder, its hood up like a wide-open mouth. A white gentleman in a suit that surely cost more than all the furniture in her home paced circles beside the vehicle, yelling into his cell. "I don't care how much you charge for the tow. I've been stranded on this deserted highway for 2 hours. I have an appointment with the governor and the gentleman checked his solid gilded timepiece. Less than 3 hours, for God's sake." Maya considered for an instant whether she should go on her way. Her Aunt Renee always told her not to speak to unknowns, especially those who seemed so obviously out of place in a modest rural area where they lived, a predominantly black neighborhood 2 hours from Boston. But something about the gentleman's desperate frustration made her pause. Maya adjusted the weight of the worn rucksack where she carried her texts, and notably the small toolkit her Uncle Leon had given her, a technician who insisted that everyone should know at least the basics about motors. "Excuse me, mister," Maya called, approaching cautiously. "Need some assist with your vehicle?" Andrew Whitaker, CEO of Whitaker Enterprises and owner of half of Boston's commercial real estate, turned in shock. The irritation on his expression quickly turned to condescension when he saw the little silhouette with colorful braids, faded cutoffs, and an MIT t-shirt that was clearly too big for her. "That's very nice of you, kiddo. But this is a high-performance vehicle. I require a proper auto mechanic." Maya shrugged, stepping closer to peer under the hood. "My uncle has a workshop and has been showing me about motors since I learned to toddle. I can at least glance." Before Andrew could protest, she had already dropped her rucksack on the earth and was leaning over the motor with surprising assurance. "When did the issue start?" she inquired, all pro. Andrew exhaled, realizing he didn't have much to forfeit. "The motor started over hot about 40 minutes ago, and then it just perished. Did you scent anything sugary like syrup?" Andrew blinked, startled. "Yes, now that you mention it. How did you realize?" "Cooling system." Maya pointed to a pool under the vehicle that Andrew hadn't even noticed. "It's seeping antifreeze. That's why it overheated." As she spoke, Andrew observed the kid with growing curiosity. There was something known about her. The way she furrowed her brow slightly in focus. How her keen eyes scanned the motor systematically. "What's your name?" he inquired suddenly. Maya Johnson." She extended her hand, stained with grease from the inspection. He shook it warily. "Andrew Whitaker." "Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Whitaker. I think I can fix this briefly." Maya opened her steel case. "Uncle Leon makes me tote a urgent kit. You never realize when someone might need assist on the highway." Andrew observed, fascinated as the kid worked with notable speed, finding the leak in the cooling line and placing a unique wrap. "That ought to hold until you get to nearby," she explained. "But you'll need to restore water to replenish the spilled antifreeze." It was when Maya lifted her hand to sweep her braids aside from her face that Andrew saw it. A band with a verdant green gem set in aged gilded held on her digit with string wrapped around the bottom to keep it from sliding off her small digit. Andrew's mind appeared to stop. The sun gleamed off the gem, mirroring an inner marking he would spot anyplace, a tiny crescent-shaped imperfection. A band he had given 12 years ago to a small kid named Maya at an asylum called Little Angels days before it was mysteriously shuttered. "That band?" Andrew began, his tone suddenly shaking. "It's very rare." Maya looked down at her hand. "It was my mom's. My foster mom, Diana. She passed last year." A trace of sorrow passed her face. She said it was a token of a vital pledge. "May I query where Diana got this band?" Maya shrugged. "She never told me precisely." She just said it belonged to someone special and that one day I would grasp its sense. Andrew tried to compose himself, offering to give Maya home as a thanks. She hesitated only briefly before agreeing. Throughout the 15-minute drive, Andrew asked apparently light queries about her life. Where she went to school, how long she had resided there, who she had resided with since her foster mom had passed. "I live with my Aunt Renee and Uncle Leon," Maya explained. "They took me in when Diana passed." "Have you always resided here?" Andrew inquired, trying to keep his voice light as he gripped the steering wheel tightly since I was 3. Before that, Maya paused. "Diana didn't talk about it much. I know I was taken in from an asylum called Little Angels. It shuttered soon after." Andrew almost lost handle of the vehicle. "Little Angels? Are you sure?" "Yes." "Why? Do you know it?" Andrew took a deep breath. "I did a long time ago." As they neared a simple but well-kept home, Andrew halted the vehicle. Maya thanked him and said farewell. But before she could get out, he passed her a card. "Maya, if you ever need anything at all, please call me." The kid took the card with a curious glance and got out of the vehicle. Andrew observed as she ran toward the home, the band sparkling in the sun. His hands shook as he picked up the cell to call his private investigator. What Maya couldn't know as she waved one last time to the stranger in his luxury vehicle was that this chance encounter had just set in motion events that would reveal secrets kept for more than a decade, secrets that linked a billion-dollar empire, a mysteriously shuttered asylum, and a black kid with a remarkable ability to repair broken things. If this story of unlikely twists and covert ties has sparked your curiosity, be sure to subscribe to find out how a simple band would become the key to unraveling a web of power, bias, and a verity that would alter lives forever. Andrew spent 3 sleepless nights staring at enlarged photos of the verdant band his investigator had captured. The jewel he had given small Maya at the Little Angels Asylum as a pledge that he would come back for her, a pledge he never kept. In his office at Whitaker Enterprises, he examined documents scattered across his desk. 12 years ago, his father, Howard Whitaker, had bought the Little Angels property for a fraction of its value, citing financial irregularities. Coincidentally, Andrew was named CEO shortly thereafter. "Mr. Whitaker, Mr. Evans from Legal, is here with the Horizon Project documents," his assistant announced. The Horizon Project, a luxury complex under construction on the very site where the asylum had once stood. Andrew quickly tucked the reports away before Evans entered. "The Little Angels acquisition documents are here," Evans said, "although I don't understand why we're revisiting old business. Your father was quite specific about keeping these documents on file." "My father is retired in Florida," Andrew replied dryly, "and I run the company now." As he examined the documents, Andrew discovered suspicious bank transfers and, more disturbingly, a list of children who had been reallocated when the asylum shuttered. Maya Johnson's name was circled in red with a note unique case. "Contact H.W., his investigator Ramirez called with news. "I found Diana Johnson. Car accident last year. Brakes failed. Suspicious circumstances. What about the adoption records? Missing officially. Maya Johnson never existed at Little Angels. Find out everything you can about her current family," Andrew ordered. Meanwhile, Maya was working in the small workshop behind her aunt and uncle's home. The place was her refuge. Tools organized on the walls, the comforting smell of oil and grease. "Did you manage to repair the old radio?" Leon asked, entering the workshop. Maya smiled, lifting the 1950s radio. "I did it. Just had to reconnect a few wires." Leon affectionately ruffled his niece's braids. "You have a gift, kid. I've never seen anyone understand machines like you. Uncle, do you think my mom would be proud? Diana was so proud of you. She could have burst." "Maya." She twirled the band on her digit. "I met a rich gentleman the other day. His vehicle broke down and I fixed it. He recognized my band. Leon froze. What gentleman? Andrew Whitaker. He gave me his card. Maya showed them the card. He seemed strange when he saw my band. Leon's face paled. He exchanged glances with Renee, who appeared at the door. Maya, dear, Renee said tensely. Remember when we promised to tell you the verity about Diana when you were older? I think that time has come. That night, Maya heard the hidden story. How Diana, a nurse at the asylum, had run away with her when the asylum suddenly shuttered. How they had changed their names and gone into hiding for years, always looking over their shoulders. Your mom left this for you, Renee said, handing her a yellowed envelope. She made us pledge to give it to you only if someone from the Whitaker family showed up. With trembling hands, Maya began to read. My dear Maya, if you are reading this, someone has found you. There are things you need to realize. At Andrew's apartment, Ramirez called again. Sir, someone else is investigating little angels. A reporter named Marcus Hayes. What does he realize? Quite a lot. And he has a theory about why her father was interested in certain children at the asylum, specifically children with unusual talents. The next day, a black SUV pulled up in front of Maya's school. Two men in suits watched as she left with her friends. Is that her? The kid with the verdant band. Yes. Mr. Whitaker Sr. wants to see her immediately. What they didn't know was that Leon was parked across the street. He took out his cell and dialed a number Diana had left for emergencies, Marcus Hayes. It's about little angels, Leon said, and a kid with a verdant band. I found the proof you're looking for. At Whitaker Enterprises, Andrew stared at his father, Howard, who had flown in from Florida without warning. What's this about reviewing the little angel's documents? Howard demanded. I thought that matter was closed. I found Maya Johnson. Dad. The kid with the verdant band. Howard paled. So what? Just another orphan. What matters is Project Horizon. Billions are at stake. What was so unique about that kid? Howard laughed dryly. Don't you really understand what's at stake? Some children are valuable. They have talents that can be exploited. She repairs things, Andrew said slowly. She can glance at broken machines and just understand them. Howard's smile was icy. Think of the military applications, the patents, the power. Why do you think we bought that asylum? What neither Whitaker realized was that Maya was already reading Diana's letter, discovering the verity about her past and her unique talents, and more importantly, discovering why the green band was so valuable. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry, but a key to documents that could bring down an empire. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place. On one side, a powerful corporation ready to protect its secrets at any cost. On the other, a 10-year-old kid with a remarkable talent and a band worth far more than its weight in greens. Between them, a gentleman trying to decide which side of the story he wanted to be on. The conference room on the 50th floor of Whitaker Enterprises was buzzing with nervous executives. Howard Whitaker had called an urgent meeting, his normally controlled face now contorted into a mask of fury. Where is my son? Howard demanded, pounding the massive glass table. Andrew should have been here an hour ago. As if summoned by his words, the double doors swung open. Andrew entered calmly, accompanied by a woman in a suit whom no one recognized. Sorry I'm late, Dad, Andrew said with a calmness that made Howard frown. This is Federal Prosecutor Claire Bennett. She has some queries about Project Prometheus. Howard's face paled. Project Prometheus, the code name for the secret program to identify and exploit children with special talents, a name that should never be mentioned in public, let alone to federal authorities. What the hell do you think you're doing? Howard hissed. Andrew walked over to the large screen on the wall and connected his laptop. Something I should have done a long time ago. The verity about Little Angels and the other 5 institutions you've shuttered over the last 15 years. The lights went out and the screen came to life with documents, photographs, and reports. Detailed records of 48 unique children identified, tested, and exploited by Whitaker Enterprises. You stole confidential documents? Howard tried to regain his composure. That's corporate crime, industrial espionage. Documents evidencing far worse crimes, Andrew replied. Unauthorized experiments on minors, falsification of adoption records, bribery of public officials, intimidation of witnesses. A video began playing on the screen. Security footage from 12 years ago. A young nurse, whom Andrew now knew to be Diana Johnson, fleeing in the middle of the night with a child in her arms. Next, a clip of Howard instructing security guards, "Find her. The kid has significant military potential. We can't lose her." 3 Little Angels employees died in accidents in the weeks that followed, Andrew continued relentlessly, including Diana's brother, who had started asking queries. "You have no idea of the implications," Howard began, but was cut off when the doors swung open again. Maya Johnson entered, accompanied by Uncle Leon and a gentleman carrying a professional camera, Marcus Hayes of the Boston Globe. "Maya," Andrew said softly, "you didn't have to come." "Yes, I did," she replied with surprising dignity for someone so young. "Diana always said that one day I would have to face the men who made us run." Howard looked at the kid, his expression shifting from shock to cold calculation. "So, you're the prodigious Project 17. I didn't imagine you'd be so small." "And you're the gentleman who killed my mom," Maya replied, her gaze unflinching. "Her brakes didn't fail by accident, did they?" Howard smiled, regaining his confidence. "Proving anything would be impossible. And you're forgetting who I am. One cell call and all of this disappears." That's when Maya opened her rucksack and took out the verdant band. With deft fingers, she turned the gem, revealing a secret compartment. From inside, she took out a tiny device. "Diana was smarter than you thought," she said. "This is a storage device," she hid in the band. "It contains backup copies of all the Little Angels records, including recordings of your meetings with military doctors about harnessing children with enhanced cognitive abilities for strategic applications." Howard Whitaker, for the first time in his life, was speechless. "This is being broadcast live right now," Marcus Hayes explained, pointing to his camera. "To our studio and directly to social media platforms. Over 10,000 people are already watching." Andrew walked over to his father, keeping his voice low. "It's over. The prosecutor has a deal for me. Full cooperation in exchange for immunity. As for you, well, we'll let a jury decide." As federal agents entered the room to arrest Howard Whitaker, Maya approached the gentleman who had destroyed so many lives. "My mom taught me that broken machines can be repaired," she said calmly. "But broken people need to repair themselves. I hope you get that chance in prison." Howard was led away, his empire crumbling live for the world to see. In the days that followed, Whitaker Enterprises' stock plummeted. Investigations revealed decades of unethical practices, illegal experimentation, and systematic corruption. Andrew watched it all with a complex mix of relief and regret. He had lost his family and his inheritance, but he had found something more valuable, his integrity, in the courthouse. As Howard awaited his preliminary hearing, Maya approached Andrew on the steps outside. "What happens now?" she asked, the verdant band sparkling on her digit, no longer a token of secrets, but of verity revealed. Andrew looked out at the city skyline, at the skyscrapers that had been built with money stained by exploitation and suffering. Among them, the gleaming Whitaker building, which would soon lose its name. "Now," he said, "we rebuild. Not just buildings, but lives." What none of them could have predicted at that instant was how that rebuilding would transform not just their lives, but an entire neighborhood. An empire built on exploitation was crumbling, but from the ashes, something new and unexpected was about to be born. Something that would forever alter the way the world viewed exceptional talent in unlikely places. 5 years have passed since the day Maya Johnson exposed the verity about the Whitaker empire. On a sunny spring morning, she walked through the halls of a newly opened Johnson Center for Young Inventors, a sprawling complex of labs, workshops, and classrooms built on the same site where the Little Angels Asylum once stood. "The sensors in the East Wing are still malfunctioning," Maya, now 15, told the group of engineers following her. Her experienced eyes identified issues in complex systems with the same ease with which she had detected a leak in a Mustang's cooler years ago. At the back of the center, Andrew Whitaker talked with investors, his suit replaced by jeans and a button-down shirt. The former billionaire heir had donated his entire personal fortune to found the Prometheus Initiative, no longer an exploration project, but a program dedicated to identifying talented young people from marginalized neighborhoods and providing them with opportunities. "We discovered 23 children with exceptional talents just this quarter," Andrew explained. "Each one receives a full scholarship and personalized mentoring. No contracts, no exploitation, no secrets." Andrew's transformation surprised many, especially former executives at Whitaker Enterprises. The gentleman who had once been heir to an empire built on exploitation was now dedicating his life to repairing damage and creating genuine opportunities. "Maya is about to publish her third patent," said Leon, who now ran the center's engineering program. "Harvard, MIT, and Stanford are already fighting over who will recruit her." On the center's main wall, an exhibit documented the entire story. Photographs of the asylum, newspaper clippings about the fall of Whitaker Enterprises, and a headline that changed everything. "Whitaker Empire collapses after teenage revelations." Meanwhile, in a medium-security federal prison, Howard Whitaker stared at the walls of his cell. The tycoon who once controlled billions and manipulated lives now spent his days in confinement, abandoned by former allies. His fortune confiscated, his name forever tarnished. "He refuses to participate in any rehabilitation program," a guard commented. "He still believes he'll get out of here and rebuild everything." The arrogance that had been his trademark was now just a sad caricature, an old gentleman clinging to dreams of power that would never come true. That night, the Johnson Center held its first major graduation ceremony. 12 young people from disadvantaged neighborhoods had completed the intensive 2-year program, each with job offers or college scholarships in hand. Maya, still too young to graduate, but already recognized as a mentor by her older peers, took the stage to give a speech. "When I was 10, I repaired a stranger's vehicle on the side of the highway," she began, twirling the verdant band on her digit. "Now a token not of secrets, but of transformation. That small act of generosity exposed a web of exploitation, but it also paved the way for something new and better." Andrew watched from the back of the auditorium, his eyes watering. The kid who had destroyed his old world had, in fact, given him a purpose that no fortune could buy. "My foster mom, Diana, used to say that broken machines can be repaired, but broken systems need to be redesigned from the ground up," Maya continued. "That's what we're doing here. Not just fixing what was wrong, but building something entirely new." The next day, Maya received an unexpected letter. The sender, Victoria Whitaker, Howard's daughter, who had renounced her family name after the scandal and now worked as a federal prosecutor. "We found 5 more asylums with programs similar to Little Angels," the letter read. "Thanks to your testimony and the evidence you gathered, we've been able to identify and protect 37 more children. Some have talents like yours. When you're ready, they'd love to meet you." As Maya read the letter to Andrew, Uncle Leon, and Aunt Renee, a sense of closure hung in the air. What had begun with a chance encounter on the side of the highway had become a quiet revolution, transforming not only their lives, but an entire system that had thrived on the exploitation of the vulnerable. "You know what's ironic?" Andrew said. "Howard always said he was building a legacy, and he really did, just not the way he imagined it." Maya looked out the window at the children playing in the center's gardens. free from the kind of manipulation that had nearly defined her own destiny. Real power was never in the buildings or bank accounts, she replied. It was in the ability to make a difference in other people's lives. That evening, as the sun set over the Johnson Center, a new sign was unveiled at the entrance. Every talent deserves to flourish. Every child deserves freedom. It was a promise for the future built on the ashes of a past. They refused to repeat. If this story of justice, resilience, and transformation touched your heart, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more stories about how small acts of courage can change entire systems, and how true reparation isn't just about punishing evil, but about building something better in its case.